As an RTO owner or the CEO of an RTO, you may or may not be one of the trainers and assessors in your RTO. If you're going to be one of the trainers and assessors, you can fast forward to the next section as you have already learned the information contained within this section in your TAE. However, if you're new to the industry and do not have any TAE training behind you, we'll cover some of the basics of what you'll need to know for your registration in this section. ASCO most commonly finds that RTO's training and assessment strategies do not provide an accurate or sufficiently detailed framework for delivery and assessment, that training and assessment strategies are not adapted to meet the needs of the various target groups, and that RTO's delivery and assessment practices do not align with your training and assessment strategies. This is why it's crucial that you use the TAS templates provided in the training and assessment folder of your documents pack when preparing your RTO's training and assessment strategies. The template has been audited time and time again at new registration audits, at compliance audits, and at re-registration audits, and the components of the TAS are complete. If you follow the template correctly, you'll not have any issues with it at audit. We've taken our years of experience and developed the template based on what we know ASCO looks for in a TAS. It is also important that you do not just prepare one training and assessment strategy for each training program. You must prepare one training and assessment strategy for each student cohort for each training program. Let me explain. If you're delivering a Cert 3 in automotive electrical technology to two separate cohorts, one to international students and one to domestic apprentices, you must have two separate training and assessment strategy documents for them. The reason being is that you'll have different support structures in place for the international students compared to the domestic apprentices. You'll have different entry requirements in place for the international students compared to the domestic apprentices. You may even have different assessment processes for the two cohorts due to the outcome of your industry engagement activities. I'm finding more and more that ASCO is finding RTOs non-compliant for simply having one training and assessment strategy for all of their student cohorts. Another issue ASCO commonly finds is that the volume of learning is not sufficient to the Australian qualifications framework. The AQF provides specific guidelines on how long a training program or how many hours should be delivered as part of a training program. For example, a Cert 4 program should be delivered over 6 months to 2 years, which can also equate to 600 to 2,400 hours. Many RTOs are not meeting this volume of learning requirement and are falling drastically short of the required hours. Some of those RTOs are able to identify and explain satisfactorily why there are significant variations from the time periods described in the AQF and will not be found non-compliant for this item. However, many RTOs are not able to do so, and they are assessed as non-compliant for this item. This is why it's important that when deciding on the duration of a course, you must take into consideration the student cohort. What are their characteristics that give rise to shortening the hours needed to be delivered in the training program? Can they meet all of the competency requirements in a shorter time frame? Let's look at an example. Let's say you're delivering a diploma of leadership and management to a group of students who have 5 years of experience in managing their own teams. The characteristics of this cohort is one where, because they've had previous relevant experience, it may be appropriate to deliver and assess the program over a shorter period of time than the 1,200 to 2,400 hours described under the AQF. Your RTO should also have a process in place to systematically review and monitor the training and assessment strategies. This is why I've developed the Documents and Continuous Improvement Review Schedule template, which you can find in the management folder of your documents pack, so that you've got specific months scheduled in to review your training and assessment strategies. I recommend for you to review the training and assessment strategy policy and the continuous improvement policy in the Policies and Procedures Manual to properly understand the requirements under clauses 1.1 to 1.4 of the standards for RTOs 2015. One area where I commonly see non-compliances in RTOs are in assessment validation processes. Many RTOs have a set and forget attitude when it comes to assessment validation. What I mean is that when going through the registration process, they've got their assessment validation plan in place and they forget all about it when they attend registration. So what I want you to do is prepare a note for yourself that once you're registered as an RTO, you pop the assessment validation schedule into your calendars. Each RTO must validate each training product on their scope of registration at least once every 5 years, with at least 50% of the products validated within the first 3 years of each 5-year cycle. Your RTO must undertake these validation activities systematically to confirm that the assessment judgments made by your trainers and assessors are correct. Whilst you don't have to validate every assessment judgment, a valid sampling approach provides a quality review process and allows you to infer that overall, your RTO's assessment judgments have been valid. You can use ASCO's validation sample size calculator to help you determine the required sample size. You should also take note that the trainer and assessor in your RTO that's delivering the training product cannot be the lead validator in your validation activities. You must either appoint another trainer and assessor who doesn't teach or assess the training product, or hire an independent validator, which in my opinion is a much better option so that you can gain a true independent picture of the condition of your training and assessment tools and strategies. I want you to read through the assessment validation policy in your policies and procedures manual to get a better understanding of this process, as it's crucial you properly understand what's required of you as an RTO owner or the CEO of an RTO. Recognition of prior learning, not to be confused with credit transfers, is an assessment process where students can apply to have their prior learning and experience recognized towards an accredited qualification or units of competence for which they're enrolled in. The RPL assessment process removes any duplication of training and assessment and enables students to gain formal qualifications based on the Australian work experience, informal training they've undertaken, and other education that they may possess. The recognition of prior learning policy in the Policies and Procedures Manual provides you with a more comprehensive guide on what's involved in an RPL process. For your registration project, you must have your RPL kits from your resource providers contextualized and ready. Alternatively, if you have prior experience in developing assessment tools in VET, you may feel confident enough to use the templates in the RPL folder of your document packs to create your own RPL kits. The purpose of VET is to equip students with the knowledge and practical skills to prepare them for workplace environments. Engaging with the industry is crucial in ensuring your training and assessment strategies are aligned to the current methods, technology, products, and performance expectations for the workplace tasks specified in the relevant training package. This is why it's important that you consult with the right people within the industry and ask the right questions during your industry engagement activities, so that you're able to use the outcome of the industry engagement activities to properly inform your training and assessment strategies, practices, and resources, as well as the current industry skills of your trainers and assessors. I want you to refer to the industry engagement policy in your Policies and Procedures Manual and review them so that you're clear on the requirements. I also want you to review the industry engagement record templates provided in the industry engagement folder of your documents pack, as they provide you with the sample questions you should be asking at the various rounds of industry engagement activities when developing your training program. You've also got sample questions there for your annual industry engagement activity when reviewing your training program. Under Clause 1.3 of the standards, an RTO must have suitable and adequate resources to deliver the training programs it has on scope, and this includes your human resources. So how do you know if you have suitable and adequate resources? Let's discuss what constitutes suitable and adequate resources in this section. First up, we've got human resources. They are your trainers and assessors, and they must be suitably qualified for the training program they're going to deliver. This means that they have vocational competencies and experience at least to the level of training and assessment they're going to deliver. They must also have current industry skills and current knowledge and skills in vocational training and learning. So for example, if your trainer has a Cert 3 in carpentry and works on renovation projects but has never been a builder, do you think they're suitable to deliver a diploma of building and construction? If you say no, you're correct. Your trainer must have at least a diploma of building and construction or an equivalent qualification, as well as possess the unit of competencies in the diploma of building and construction which you are delivering. If your trainer does not have those exact competencies, you should have them gain those competencies to accurately meet this requirement. They must also possess the required training and assessment qualifications such as the TAE 40116. Human resources also includes your operational and support staff. You must be able to justify how you arrived at the number of operational and support staff as part of Clause 1.3 of the standards, which requires for you to have a sufficient number of student support staff to meet the needs of your learner cohorts. Next, we have your learning and assessment resources, your RTOs facilities, whether physical or virtual, and the equipment you need to have to accommodate and support the number of students you have. The amount of resources you need and its suitability depends on a variety of factors, from your location to your student cohort to your premises, to the courses you offer, to the systems and processes you have in place. As each project is different and there are various calculations involved when determining the amount of resources you need, we'll discuss them personally in phase 2 of your project. For the purposes of your registration project, what you must take note of is that these resources must be acquired before you'll lodge your registration application with ASQA. Once you've acquired them, you must prepare a list containing photos and quantities of the resources to be provided to ASQA. In terms of your human resources, evidences that you will have to prepare are employment contracts, trainer matrices for your trainers and assessors, and copies of their qualifications. From time to time, SSOs will make changes to training packages to ensure they align with current industry trends and requirements. These updates ensure that students receive the necessary skills for the current work environment, and the SSOs are the ones who determine whether these changes are equivalent or not equivalent. Hopefully, throughout your registration project, you won't have any of the training products you're registering with Superseded or removed from the National Register. However, if you do, the first thing to ascertain is whether the new training product is equivalent or whether it's not. If it is equivalent, great news. Most of the items will be the same with a few minor changes. If it's not, chances are the changes are too great for you to continue using the same learning and assessment resources you've purchased. This is why you should check the relevant SSO's website at the start of your registration project to ascertain whether any changes are coming so that you can strategize accordingly and keep your eye on the website for any updates. You can find the relevant SSO's website either through the National Register or through AISC's website. I encourage you to read the training package transition policy in your policies and procedures manual to help you understand the difference between superseded and deleted training products and what the protocols are when these events do happen.